I'm joined now by the former bassist for the band One Republic and current Democratic candidate for California's 41st Congressional District, Tim Myers. Thanks so much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, how do you go from the bassist for an international superstar band over to running for Congress now in California's 41st? What was that evolution like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I was born and raised in Corona, California, in the district, and my dad's a pastor, so I watched him serve people. I played in punk bands, and then later started the band One Republic and got to tour the country, meet all sorts of folks. But one of the things I saw really early on, working in One Republic, but also working with artists like Kesha and Katy Perry and others, is that songwriters and artists, they get screwed over by major record labels and corporations. So I started my own label, and the goal was to give back to artists and make sure that they're able to get their fair shake and have good deals, instead of these predatory deals that record labels do. So started my label, and it blossomed into this huge thing, and hundreds of artists were able to be able to buy homes and make a living doing music. So now I'm running for Congress, for a similar thing. People can't afford to buy homes here in California and across the nation. And so I'm excited to shake things up and make some major change here.
And so, how are you going to leverage your past? Obviously, it's much different than what Democrats usually have, and it kind of fills this weird void that we have, where Democrats have largely ceded culture to the right over the last election cycle or so, and so this kind of offers a way back in, at least for your race in particular. And so, how are you going to leverage that moving forward into 2026?
100%. I mean, we're seeing like a major movement right now. We've seen thousands and thousands of grassroots people just give to this campaign. And a lot of it's that, I grew up working class. I was a janitor, I was a barista at one point. And, people are really angry right now at politicians in general. It's both sides of the aisle. And so, as an outsider, as somebody that's not the establishment, that message is really, really resonating with people right now. And we just did a town hall, this weekend with 400 people, and people are showing up all over the district right now. It's exciting.
Are your former bandmates supportive of the effort here?
They are. It's been so nice. Like Ryan in particular was extremely supportive. So it's nice, to get that support and the support from the music industry. There's been this huge outpouring from the music industry, and to me that touches my heart, more than the $3,500 check, which is the max. Like the artist giving $10, $20 to the campaign when I know they're really working hard to earn that kind of money. So
We obviously have seen this district pose something of a headache for Democrats in the past. Will Rollins ran in California's 41st for the last two election cycles, came really close to unseating Ken Calvert, but that district has been a thorn in our sides, which is ironic because it includes cities like Palm Springs, which are obviously very liberal bastions, but it's offset by these other very conservative parts of Riverside County. And so, how will your campaign be different from these previous campaigns with other strong candidates like Will Rollins?
Yeah, absolutely. I love Will, and he's a good friend, and I gave to his campaign as well. And literally a week after after that election, we were talking about how can we flip this seat. And a lot of it, talking to everybody is it's Corona. Corona is the biggest city in the district, and just being born and raised there, it's very, very working class, and a lot of these people are moderates and they're easily swayed. And so I think, being able to reach them, connect with them, speak their language. And that's one of the assets I have is, just being from there, being born and raised, and being able to kind of speak their language. So.
And in terms of the actual issues, because look, you're Ken Calvert to a degree is probably going to be able to speak their language in the sense that he's gotten elected there for God knows how many cycles. I don't think since I've been in politics, Ken Calvert hasn't been in Congress. And so in terms of the issues themselves, where do you stand that's going to help win over those folks in the Corona areas of your district?
Well, first off, just I'm going to politely disagree. I don't think Ken Calvert speaks their language at all. When I was 8 years old at Lincoln Elementary School, he became my congressman, and
Yeah.
32 years later, he's still there. He hasn't shown up to a town hall in years because he's scared. He, voted against same-sex marriage. He voted against the bipartisan infrastructure bill. The guy is, the furthest right you can imagine,
Yeah.
and that is not what the people of Corona and especially Palm Springs align with. And it's insane that he's been there for so long. So, I have no doubt there's a movement happening in 2026. Hands down, we're going to be able to flip this seat.
And so going back to the initial question,
Yeah,
like in
yeah,
terms of the actual issues, like what is your campaign going to be focused on? What moves you in
absolutely.
politics?
Yeah, so affordable housing, things are just completely unaffordable right now. People are leaving the state right now for Austin and Nashville,
Yeah.
but it's throughout the country. So I'm for a $25,000 tax credit to first time home buyers. Climate change has been a huge thing. We've seen wildfire after wildfire, and San Bernardino and Riverside County are two of the most polluted counties in the country. So we need some major, major change there. And then crime and homelessness right now is a huge thing here in California. So I have no doubt we're going to be able to fix these things, and I'm really, really excited about making these changes.
There have been a lot of discussions about the abundance agenda as the result of Ezra Klein's book, and so I'm curious where you stand on this idea that that there are a lot of well-meaning regulations on the book, but in aggregate, the practical effect of having all of these regulations is that there is so much red tape that just compounds year over year over year. Again, each one individually, which may have been well-meaning, but in aggregate creates such an obstacle and such a time suck and such a money pit for developers who actually want to build these houses that it's kind of no wonder we're not able to do this in any way that's quick or cost effective. You look at a big example, of course, is high speed rail, or our
Yeah,
inability to complete high speed rail.
absolutely.
In this state that beats its chest as a beacon of innovation. We can't even build a fucking
Absolutely.
train.
It's
But I'm
crazy.
I'm
It's crazy.
curious where you stand on this issue as it relates. If something that really drives you is housing, how do we
Mhm.
fix that here in California?
I mean, there's multiple layers, and yes, regulations. There's been too many regulations, but at the same time, it's nuanced because we need those regulations. But some of the ideas that I have that are outside of the box is, our state land. We have 4 million acres of state land here in California that's being unused. We could use that land to build affordable housing. A lot of this land, too, is around schools. And teachers right now in California are driving Ubers. They have side gigs. This shouldn't be happening,
Yeah.
And we could build housing on near school land so that teachers can live there. Also, with this land, we could, build solar panels and go fully solar here in California. There's a lot of things we could do. We also have tons of government buildings that are completely empty, and let's transform those into affordable housing. There's a lot of things we can do. I feel like the regulation here, talking about the high speed rail, we've seen time and time again in California where consultants and special interest groups get kickbacks, and that's why we're seeing all this money being poured into this, but no rail being laid and things like that. So there's corruption on both sides, and we need to clean that up and get some of these folks out of there and new people in there that are for the working class people.
In terms of Ken Calvert's continued presence in Congress, what do you say to folks who, for whom voting for Ken Calvert, voting Republican, has become a major component of their identity? And so, it's not as easy as just, for some of these people who have viewed themselves as Republicans their entire lives, it's not as easy as just saying, hey, don't vote Republican anymore. It's something that they might hold dear. And so in the instance with Ken Calvert, how do you move those people who may have voted for him election cycle after election cycle since we were both kids? How do you move
Yeah.
them away from Ken Calvert and open them up to voting for a different party, a party that may for their entire lives have been antithetical to their own identity?
I mean, we're already seeing that. On Easter, it was wild. I got a text from a friend and she's like, "I'm here with 30 of my family members. All of them are Republican. They've never voted for a Democrat in their life, and they're gonna vote for you." And I was like, "Why?" And they're like, "It's because you speak their language. They know you're working class. They knew you growing up. They
Yeah.
know that you mowed the lawns, you were the janitor, you were the barista, you worked your butt off, and you care about the people here." And, people at the end of the day just want to know that they're being taken care of. I'm completely anti-Trump, anti-Elon. I think the Great Orange Man is the worst president we've ever had. However, when he ran, he spoke to the working class. There was something about his message that resonated, and AOC does the same thing. She's on the far left, but her working class message really resonates with people. And these are people that just want to know they're going to have somebody that's representing them and they're being taken care of. So I think at the end of the day, it's just about representing people and speaking their language.
Tim, how can we help your campaign?
Well, if you could go to timmyersforcongress.com, and if you want to give, we would absolutely be honored if you would do that. And also, if you want to sign up to volunteer in the district and go canvassing with us, that would be huge.
Well, I know that we have a big audience that's listening out here in California. We have a big national audience, of course, and for anybody who's looking to give, highly recommend that you give because this is a really important district. But especially folks in California who may feel like, we live in this big blue liberal bastion and there's really nothing that we could do on the ground. This is one of the most flippable districts in the entire country. It is a main target, probably top 3 most flippable in the entire United States. So highly recommend if you're in the area, head over to Tim's website and see what we can do to help. And if you don't live in the area, of course, any way that you can help in terms of contributions is also welcome. Tim, appreciate
Really
your
appreciate
time
that.
today
Yeah,
and
thank you.
best of luck in the campaign trail.
Thank you. It was so great talking with you. Thank you.